Welcome, everybody. The 2020s, what's happening and why, and what it means for you in your life. So, this should be an interesting journey. Let's dive in. I'm Daniel Piatek. I am a spiritual mentor and intuitive guide, and now the founder of the Academy of Practical Mysticism. This is the organization that is hosting this event, what we're calling Transition Talk. We hope to have them every week or two around a particular subject that is near and dear to our hearts. The Academy of Practical Mysticism is an evolution of my work and the work of people who I've been working with. We're coming together to create this project. So this is a very quick overview of the Academy. Each of these areas has anywhere from 10 to 30 things underneath them. So the purpose of the Academy is to free the unique genius inside of humanity. The unique genius is what we call the individual spark of the divine. And it's time now for that part of us to come forward. We're going to be talking about that today, the need for that. The Academy is dedicated to the emergence of a new human being as we move forward in time. So what are we going to cover today? 2020s, what's happening and why? First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what these times are, the times that we're in. Then I thought the best way to do this would be to talk about what's going on out there in the world, and then what's going on in here, inside this world, inside of us. And I want to talk a little bit about this proposition that I'm putting forward, that we came here for these times. On some level, we chose to be here exactly now for exactly what's happening. What are these times? What the hell is this that we're in? I'm going to talk more specifically about what's going on out there in the next section. But I wanted to talk about these times because these times have been talked about in different ways from very different perspectives over a great deal of time. There's prophecies from indigenous peoples and what you would think of as more traditional religions all over the planet for a very, very long time, prophesying about these times when there would be great changes happening on the planet. This next section is people that are looking at data, looking at what's going on the planet. You could look at any issue, shortage of water, technology increasing, issues with food and food supply, climate issues, et cetera, et cetera. People looking at the data of a lot of different things going on the planet have been looking ahead and saying, look, we're going to run into problems here. This third one is looking at geological cycles on the planet, rocks and things that are embedded in the history of the Earth, and comparing them to astronomical cycles and realizing that there seem to be some correlation of cycles that happen over a great deal of time. And it's looking like we are in one of those times now of a huge shift. Then you had people looking at things like how complex systems change. So complex systems like the weather, the economy, the movement of goods and services across this planet, et cetera, et cetera. Most of the way life has become on the planet has become a number of complex systems that are all working together somehow. But nobody really, I mean, they're so beyond our ability to understand. So people that look at how complex systems work have been realizing that there is a point in complex systems when they break down so that a new order can emerge. We'll talk a little bit about that later. This fifth one, the astrological cycles over tens of thousands of years. And if you look at those cycles over millennia of time, and you look at the transits that are happening, particularly in this decade, it's quite obvious that something significant and unprecedented is happening, and we're here to live it. And then the last I put in, I didn't know how to cover this, so I lumped a bunch of stuff together. Just an overwhelming amount of experience from human beings that have gotten information in many what you would call non-ordinary ways. Past life regressions, channeling, their own intuition, seeing visions from so many different sources. Some I find interesting is people that did past life regressions over decades, and they found people that don't know each other coming up with similar stories as they were looking into the future. The point I'm making in this section, before we go into any of the detail, is that it seems that these times that we're in are times that are very particular, quite unique, and possibly unprecedented. And we came for them. I just pulled this one out, this Hopi prophecy. When the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, let's stop right there. That's one way of saying the times that we're in. A new tribe of people shall come unto the earth from many colors, creeds, and classes, and who by their actions and deeds shall make the earth green again. They shall be known as the warriors of the rainbow. This, for me, is a hopeful vision. My vision is completely hopeful and optimistic. I ain't hopeful, it's just optimistic. I know that this is a profound time that's here to support us and support planet Earth. But we are in these times where the world around us is shifting dramatically. I just thought I'd come up with a few things that might be causing us problems here on the planet right now. Each and every one of these, well, most of them, in and of themselves, is a complex system which seems to be reaching its limit of functionality. Each and every one, not every single one of those, but most of them, if you were to take one individually and say, what do we do about this? This is what's been going on for a number of years for all of these things. And we seem to be reaching a limit with what we have to be able to solve the dilemmas that are coming about. And yet we're living at a time where there are a number of complex systems, like most of what's happening in our lives, personally, collectively, and planet-wide. Very complex, complicated systems that are interacting in complex and complicated ways, which are breaking down. This is what happens. An avalanche of systemic crises. So in our personal lived day-to-day lives, some of these might be finding their way into our homes and lives. But the 2020s, each and every one of these things are going to be having a greater effect on us. The news is good, stay with me. But we are going through a system-wide crash. These things happen. They need to happen. We're going to talk about that a little further. But if we get lost in the details, we often get lost in the fear and confusion that causes for us as human beings. So let's keep going. I added in here in blue a few of the kinds of things that we can already see arising in the 2020s more and more. Mistrust, division, fear, violence, scapegoating. These things are happening. These things are falling apart. Human beings, how we relate to them, makes all the difference in how we begin to get through these. Because if we get lost in trying to keep systems together that are trying to fall apart, we're fighting against a movement that's trying to happen. I'm going to speak about it today in terms of how evolution works. For me, evolution in its biggest sense is at its heart a spiritual process. So because we get lost in things like fear, division, mistrust, trying to fight some things that way beyond our ability to even begin to control from happening. Life will be very difficult for us. But if we work with this, if we understand it, the news is good, I promise you. We work with it and understand these things are happening for a reason, then something profound could happen for each and every one of us and for the planet as a whole. So you can look at all this and say, the shit has hit the fan. Yeah. It's only just begun. The 2020s are going to be a rather challenging decade. I'm going to reframe this and look at this differently. So evolution moves in the direction of increased consciousness, increased complexity, and increased uniqueness. Evolution, back to as far back as we know anything about anything. When something came from nothing and this all was born, gases forming into something that's somewhat tangible, etc., all the way back to the beginning. The movement of life as it moves forward is in the direction of increased consciousness, complexity, and uniqueness. So this is one chart that demonstrates it. I think it's fairly easy to get. So these all happen over time. We start with atoms. Atoms come together for molecules. Molecules form together to become cells. Keep on going. Now, increased consciousness. So you could say a community has the ability to hold more consciousness and awareness than an individual does. An individual human being has the ability to hold more consciousness than one of her cells does. Increased consciousness, increased ability to understand, to comprehend. Complexity. The human being's body is infinitely more complex than an individual cell. Yes. Now, uniqueness. If you have a bunch of cells and you need to get to a whole human being, if you have all the same cells, you're not going to be able to make a human being. You need different kinds of cells. Liver cells, heart cells, skin cells, etc., etc. We need different kinds of things. So you're going to see as we move forward here, I'm going to come back to this because the dilemma that we're in now is calling for increases in each of these three things. It's been called for before in history. It'll be called for in the future. There is a way that things progress. Complexity. Back when I was talking about all those awful things happening, pollution, energy issues, water issues, mass migration, etc. Each of those systems is already intensely complex, yes? There's a lot of complexity there already. But our ability to understand and work with and manage that as a human collective seems to have reached its top. So if evolution is trying to make life on the planet more complex, we got to deal with these other things here. Increases in consciousness and increase in uniqueness. Life is trying to become more complex, and we're already having a tremendous amount of difficulty with the complexity that we're swimming in already. Something has to change here. Instead of the shit hitting the fan, how about we talk about the shift is exactly to plan. So that first section for me is important when I talked about prophecies. Not only prophecies, but people looking at the data, people that understand how change happens, people that understand complex systems and how they go through breakdown so that a higher order of complexity can emerge. So when you look around, it looks like it's all a pile of stuff. Well, not all, there's lots of cool things happening on the planet too. But if you understand there is a way of things, then we can start to work with it. The shift is exactly to plan. So I don't know if you guys have tuned into this conversation that's happening. It talks about the meta crisis. I had on the thing there before, all those individual crises. People are talking about this idea of meta crisis, the thing that lives behind and includes all of them. This is one person trying to give voice to that. The meta crisis refers to our failure, human beings' failure, to perceive how we perceive or to know how we know. We don't understand how we work well enough. It's the underlying crisis driving a multitude of crises. This is pointing in the direction of human beings needing to evolve, increase in consciousness and increase in uniqueness. So, third section, getting down to the individual. So we talked about people that saw this coming years ago, people that saw this coming decades ago, looking at data, etc. People that saw this coming because they understand how complex systems work, etc. In the second section, we talked about all of this stuff happening out there in the world. Multiple complex systems, all basically falling apart at the same time. Now let's look at inside of us. Most of us here, we've had challenges of different sorts. There are people in other parts of the world whose challenges are we couldn't even possibly imagine. We have people that live on the other side of our street or our town that are having tremendous difficulty in their lives for many reasons. We have a lot of wonderful things happening too. Some people are finding this time, including myself, and actually most of the people I work with, finding this time incredibly, incredibly positive and beneficial. But how you see what's happening, how you relate to it, how you respond to it is everything. So, this, to some degree or other, is all of us at one time or another. And I am suggesting that through the 2020s, this kind of response is likely to happen more. It doesn't mean it needs to take us down or out, but things are likely going to be happening that we never imagined could happen. If that brings up fear, you just simply notice it. These things are meant to happen because these systems that currently support life on the planet will no longer support where we're needing to move to. They're in the way. So those of you that have done any kind of work with me will know this on a personal level for yourself. When you run into something, whether it's a belief system, how you're relating to your fear and doubt, how you're relating to that inner critic in there, something that was going on internally that you realized you needed to shift in relationship to it. Because what was happening there with that dynamic, either holding on to that belief, not knowing or being unwilling to go to your own pain and release it, these things were what was keeping you stuck. So now this is happening globally. The things that have kept us stuck, that keep us trapped, individually and collectively, will be falling apart. It's already happening. Look around. The systems that we thought would be there to support us in a crisis like we've had were found wanting, were found maybe not to be working in our best interest, or at least it's bringing up lots of questions for us. So these are the kinds of things, it's the things that were already there are now being pushed to the surface so that we can see them, so that we stop participating with them. We stop participating with our own work in terms of believing those voices that are speaking to us from behind our head. You can't do this. See, you fucked it up again. We stop participating with that. We stop being afraid of fear when it arises in our body. Instead, we learn how to go to it and release it. We stop participating in these old relationships, this old understanding that has kept us trapped. See, now I speak to this group and you understand what I'm talking about. Now, take that same idea and expand it out into the outer world. The ways in which we see and relate to other people, sources of information, authority, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are being called into question. And the way I'm going to suggest you might look at these things is don't make it about them. Make it about you. What do I choose to do now that I see this? Do I want to continue this kind of dynamic here, or do I need to make different decisions? Am I seeing that my values have changed and they no longer support me engaging in certain activities out there in the communal space? This is a big part of what I think is such a lost opportunity in the collective conversation that happens in social media, et cetera, is everybody's pointing. And there are certainly things to point at. But in terms of what evolution needs, it's needing each and every one of us to be able to hold more consciousness and to be more of our own, I'm going to say, God-given, universe-given, essential uniqueness. That's what's most needed. Not telling everybody else how they're fucking up and doing it wrong. Albert Einstein famously said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used to create them. It very clearly talks about what I'm trying to get across here. We have a lot of issues going on, and they're issues that are way beyond any of us individually to comprehend, and they're way beyond even the experts. There's good news, I promise you. We need different human beings. Once again, evolution moves in the direction of increased consciousness, complexity, and uniqueness. In order for that next level of complexity to be able to be created, what is desperately needed is unique human beings. This is why it's really important for us to start questioning the way in which we relate to our own experience and we relate to other people's circumstances, situations, institutions in our lives, because we are infinitely more conditioned than we know. I mean, really, it's beyond, it just is. It's the isness of being a human being. However, it doesn't have to stay that way. In order for our uniqueness to emerge, it's important for each one of us to engage our own inquisitiveness, our own sense of something not right here. You start doing that, and before long, things start to change around you. But it's desperately needed. How do we get to what I'm talking about? Jung talks about individuation. The goal of individuation, which is the nature of the work that I do with clients, is wholeness, as much as we can accomplish, not the triumph of the ego. Now stay with me here for a second, because oftentimes we hear the idea of individuation as very all about me kind of stuff. Not what's being referred to here. It's about becoming whole, whole as much as we can, not the triumph of the ego. To find out what is truly individual in us, in me, profound reflection is needed. It's the kind of work I'm doing. And suddenly we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality in fact is. Isn't that true? Look at your own life. Again, it's not to make this wrong. It's about realizing this is a challenge. That last line, suddenly we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality is. It's doable. People I work with do it. The people that are here know it's doable. Is it challenging? You betcha. But it's doable for us normal folk. Now, what if all of that craziness out there in the world, what it's desperately needing is for more of us to engage in this commonly difficult discovery so that we become a vessel for more consciousness and we become an expression of the uniqueness that we came here to live and to give. What I call our unique genius. Last section, we came here for these times. I think I can do this without losing this. So if you paid attention, you could tell that picture was taken a few years ago when this was a little darker. I have had a number or a handful of visions in my life that have greatly changed the trajectory of my life. One of which was this vision that I referred to as the puzzle piece vision. It's one of those things that came in an instant. So I'm going to try to very briefly give you what it is that was given to me. That we each came here with a puzzle piece hidden inside of us. I've come to call that puzzle piece our unique genius. And we came here expressly to bring this puzzle piece to the world. Now, how does that puzzle piece become available? It becomes available by taking away everything that isn't it. And that's doable by any human being who's relatively sane and stable. That puzzle piece is already formed. We don't need to put it together. We don't need to know what it is. And as more and more of us make our puzzle pieces available, we will find other pieces to which they connect. All each of us is responsible for is in uncovering, which to me means becoming. We become our puzzle piece. And God, I like to use that term, the consciousness is behind all this, that is all this. The universe has about 1 million different puzzles that can be put together. And they're all the next evolution of life here on planet Earth. The human beings are so arrogant and feel like they need to figure this out. Figuring this out, putting a puzzle together that works, putting a world together that works, is way beyond our ability to be able to fathom with this limited mind. What we can do is uncover the puzzle piece that we are and make it available to the world, whatever it is, whatever form it is. That we can do. So that was one of the visions that was given to me. Evolution moves in the direction of increased consciousness, complexity, and uniqueness. So I found this image today and I really love this. To me, this represents the puzzle piece or the unique genius that can emerge from us and as us as we do the work of individuating and make that available to the rest of the world. Carl Jung, what is it in the end that induces a person to go their own way and to rise out of unconscious identity with the masses? Vocation is an irrational factor that destines someone to emancipate themselves from the herd and from its well-worn paths. Anyone with a vocation hears the inner voice. They are called. And it's my belief and experience that not all are called, at least not at any one given time. I'm on a mission to find those people that are called and support them in doing what they probably don't really know how to do. It seems that my puzzle piece, at least as far as I've uncovered it to date, had the knowledge and wisdom of how to do this. I wasn't taught this. Have you ever wondered what's locked up inside of you that's waiting to come out? Do you feel called to something? So this message doesn't speak to most people. So welcome back. We talked about the times that we're in, what's happening out there in the world, what's happening for us in here in the world and our own dynamics. And I propose that we came for this. And for me, this is all the perfect storm, the perfect setup for the emergence of a new human being, a new way of being human. So that doesn't have to get weird if you think about everything we talked about at the beginning in terms of the limitations of the human being in order to address what's needed. And for those of you that have done work with me for a while, you have an experience of this, these new versions of yourself, these new ways of expressing yourself, new expressions that come out of you that surprise you, that are built in already. That, to me, is why this is happening. It's so that we emerge new humans that can carry more consciousness, that are more unique. The more unique Legos we have to build with, the more different kinds of complex things can be created from those different Legos. That's what's happened here. Evolution moves in the direction of increased consciousness, complexity, and uniqueness. You are needed. Your uniqueness is needed. It's built into you. Liberating it is why you're needed, because nobody else can liberate your puzzle piece for you. This speaks to you. I invite you to heed that call. One of the ways to do that is next Tuesday, we're going to have another one of these gatherings on a different subject, looking at values. This is really critical as we discover who we are, to begin to look for ourselves and what's really important to us, are trying to guide us forward. This presentation will be given by Tammy Koval, who is one of the mentors and teachers at the Academy of Practical Mysticism. And it will be here at the same Zoom link next Tuesday at a different time than today. We're going to explore different times and hope to see you there. We are going to be calling these transmutation talks. Depending on how they're received and any suggestions you have, we want to gather at least once every 2 weeks, or maybe once a week at first, to do some exploration together, and then have some time to be able to share together. So there will be more coming from the Academy of Practical Mysticism as we move forward. And if anybody would like to stay around and share how it was for you in your breakouts, I would love to hear. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you on Tuesday.